a way bigger skill set. Like it's the next level. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. GitLab also has issue boards, so you can organize boards into like to-dos, urgent, not urgent. So they have some like good project management-y stuff that we're not going to get into that you can explore. I have 2 people who forked this repository. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, David. Hi, David. Okay. I'll just wait. There are a few people waiting for the bathroom. Does anybody have any questions about what we just did? Do you understand what we just did? Okay, for the most part.
Do you want somebody to say no? I really
No, I mean, my preference is I went like slowly and carefully enough that people understand, but it is not the easiest of concepts.
If anybody else doesn't want to, go ahead and do that.
All right. So everything we've just done, we have created a repository. We have created a file in that repository, and we have tracked the changes to that over time and people. So that's what we have just done. With forking, you have taken a project that you want to collaborate on, that you want to contribute to, and you've brought it into a space where you can do that. Okay, so now we did the Git hosting part of the workshop. We're going to move to the Git on the command line part of the workshop. So everyone please open up a terminal. If you're on Mac, you just search terminal in Spotlight. If you're on Windows, it's CMD. Anybody on Linux? Okay, just me. Oh, okay, so you know how to get to the terminal. Okay. I hope.
If you're on Linux, you don't have a problem.
Okay. Wow, the 2 people on Linux are collaborating. That's kind of funny. Okay. So now, there's a lot we can do on the GitLab interface, but there's a lot of things that I want to try running on my own computer to see if they work. I like my setup. I want to be able to collaborate when I'm not connected to the internet. So I want to basically make a copy of this repository on GitLab onto my computer. Does anybody have an idea of how we do that? Git clone. So we are taking the repository, and we are just literally copying all the contents onto our computer. But before we do that, we need to tell Git who we are. So remember back in the day I was saying they used to email Git repositories around to each other? So by virtue of that, you cannot do anything with Git on your computer without telling Git who you are, because we need to blame you, the Git blame. So every commit, every contribution to a Git project needs to have your name and email address, so Linus can yell at you. So we have to tell it our name, our email, and then there are just a few kind of vanity settings that are useful for us. So in my terminal, does everyone have a terminal open? Okay. I'm just going to get out of that. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is type git config, because we are literally configuring Git. We're going to say global, because we want it to apply to all of our projects, not just this one. User.name, Vicky Steeves. Yes, and your name is in quotes. If you do this wrong, Git will yell at you, so don't worry. But this is the command.
Enter.
Enter. And nothing should happen. This is just your regular name that you would sign on a check. And you can always change it. So if I wanted to call myself Vicky Zelda, which is my alias, no one looked that up, then I could just do that. And then my name changes. But I'm going to change it back. Okay. The next thing we have to do is tell Git your email address. So preferably this is the one associated with your GitHub or GitLab account. It could be something different. It's just going to show up kind of weird when you push the commits there. So to do that, it's the same thing, git config -- global, because I want it to apply to everything. User.email, and then type in your email. So mine's really long. All right. Hit enter, nothing should happen.
So what if something is happening?
Then I will come around and
What?
What?
Not in a Git directory.
Mine as well.
So you're not. Do you have Git installed? Oh, so you have a space in between the dashes and global, and you don't have any dashes before global. So Git is really particular. If you don't type things exactly right, it will fail.
I'm getting not recognized capitalize with a dollar sign, right?
Oh no, don't type the $, sorry.
Okay.
The $sign is just a part of my terminal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. Don't type the $. Yeah. Don't type the $. That's remove.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if I just don't type RM, but what if I'm like writing
Sometimes you
DRM.
want to remove things.
Yeah. What, DRM? Well, that's different. Just don't do RM. You can do capital RM.
No, don't type in like RM.
Okay. Okay, so is everyone given Git your name and email?
Is there a way to check it?
Yes, and that's next. But first, we have to tell Git which text editor we like to use. So this is important when I push a change and maybe somebody else makes a change, and those changes conflict, and I have to manage that conflict. I do that in my text editor. And Git will also tell you, make a commit message, do some things in your text editor. So can you give me an example of a text editor? Vim. What? Atom. Nano. Text Wrangler. Text edit. Notepad. Notepad++. As long as it's plain text, you're good to go. So we do that. I don't know. What do you like? Text edit is the stock on Mac. You can just do text edit. You don't need it to be fancy. So again, it's git config core.editor, and then mine is gedit. But if you're on Mac, you would type text edit. If you're on Windows, you might type notepad. But for me, it's get it. Sorry? Yes.
Text edit's capital T, I believe.
You said notepad for Windows?
Yep.
Capital T, capital E.
Okay.
Or if you have to figure out the first one?
So now if I want to double check that everything I just typed in is right, I can do git config -- list. Oops. Okay, well, I did it wrong because I have text editor and core editor, but just forget that. Git config -- list. So here's my email, here's my username, everything I use is gedit.
Always, does it put it on?
I did the list.
Oh, you have some aliases probably that are stock in Mac. So if you're on Mac and you got a giant list that has alias this, alias that, that is probably just part of your Git install. Don't worry about it. It won't affect anything that's
How do
happening.
I find what I just entered though? So I did these.
Color, oh, can you scroll down?
I'm just gonna let it be.
Huh, can you keep scrolling?
No, that's as far as it goes.
Oh.
Oh,
No, it keeps going. User.name,
Okay.
user.email,
yeah.
core editor.
Okay.
Okay, you're good. That's fine. Okay. So does everyone have something that looks like this? If you're on Mac and you get that whole thing about aliases, don't worry about it. Okay, everyone's good on this? Okay. Great. Okay, so again, if you ever need help, if you forget this stuff, git-h can help you find out how to deal with Git, or git-help just gives you a list of all the Git commands. So for anything I need to collaborate, I need to fetch, push, and pull, which we'll look at later. If you want to tweak your history, which is what you asked about, no one do this, but if you want to tweak your history, if you just want to look at your history, so again, that's git-help. And we're going to be looking at cloning next. So those are always good ways to get help while you're on the command line. There's -h and -help.
Will give you all the various commands with their context and all that.
All these config things, are these something that we'll have to do each time we want to work in Git?
No, because we passed it global. So global means it's for all the Git projects on our computer. So yes, we want to be efficient. Yeah?
Can you change your text editor later on?
Mhm.
Just going in and saying,
It's just doing the same thing. So for instance, if I want to change this to nano, I do that. And then if I go back to my list, you can see that my core editor is now nano.
and it doesn't matter if you have the double quotes or the single quotes when
No.
you're doing that in the
It shouldn't matter.
How do I get back to the command line? I have a little thing that says, a little box that says end.
That says what?
Hit the down arrow.
Do you have this too? Okay. I have no idea. What did you just?
I just opened a new
Huh?
terminal.
Okay. You can just close and open your terminal. I have no idea. That's a Mac bug. Huh?
Command line died, huh?
Yeah. Yes. Sometimes you run into just operating specific weirdness. Okay. So now that we have Git configured, we are going to bring in all the files that we have now currently stored on GitLab onto our computer so we can work as we want, offline, comfortably, etc. So, does everyone know the command to change where you are in the terminal? Okay. Yes. Okay. So here I am on my home directory, but I want to clone my repository on my desktop. So what I do is I change directory, cd, and then I type the place where I want it to go. And you'll see on the terminal, now I am on my desktop. So everyone should do that. Just go on your desktop, unless you are comfortable with the command line, and you're not going to ask me to help you if you don't do that. Just kidding, I will. I'll do my best. Okay. It's a common problem on Windows. Is this your phone?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not doing it.
Okay. Can you,
Can't do this.
so can you type cd space desktop, capital D? Because
Okay.
if you mess up your typing, you will end up.
I just don't know
Okay.
if I downloaded everything correctly.
Yeah. Now you're on the desktop. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you didn't have Git installed, it would yell at you.
Okay.
All we need is Git
Okay,
installed.
cool.
And I could tell because you're
does
looks
that.
like you're on the Git terminal.
Okay, cool.
So you're good to go.
Okay.
Okay, now you're on the desktop. Are you good?
Thank you.
Okay. Everybody good back there?
I have a Chromebook. I don't think it'll work.
Do you have a terminal? Do you have a terminal?
Terminal, but you can't download it. On Chromebooks, everything's on the cloud. You can't download any software.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll still learn and watch.
Okay, oh, I'm really sorry.
You're good.
Oh. There must be some workaround to that.
I bet there's like maybe a web app. I think there's a GitHub web app.
There's a desktop app, which is not the same. Okay. Okay, you guys good?
This is awesome.
Okay, okay, everyone's good? Are you guys good? Okay, great. All right, so now we are on the desktop, and now is a good time where I want to copy all the files from GitLab onto the desktop. So here's my repository. I'm going to clone my own, but so person A, clone your own repository. Person B, clone the fork. Okay? Okay, does that make sense? Okay. So you see this thing in the middle, SSH, and then your. So everybody change this to HTTP. There's just a menu. So now it should say HTTP. Just click this copy button, so you copy the URL. Right here. Copied. Okay. Everyone with me so far? Okay. So now we're going to type git clone and paste in that link and hit enter. And now you can see there's 6 things in the repository. It's compressing everything, and it has unpacked everything. I'm sorry? Either back click, right click, or control shift, yeah, paste. Okay. I don't know the shortcut for Windows. Okay, has everybody gotten this far?
That's weird that it opened in BB Edit.
Okay, everyone's good over here? Okay.
So I just copied that, but then Command V doesn't paste it there.
If you just right click, oops, sorry. I shouldn't touch Windows machines. Right click, do space first, space bar,
Okay,
1 space.
sorry.
Right click,
Yeah.
paste.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know the shortcut for
Okay.
Windows on that, I'm sorry.
okay.
Okay, you're good? All right. You guys are good? You good? You good? You got your forked repository?
Yes.
Okay, great. So when you clone, you might be asked for your username and password. Just give it your GitLab username and password, which is the same potentially as your GitHub one if you signed in with GitHub. Okay, so everyone has cloned this. So now when I go to my desktop, I have a project folder, and it is my Git repository. So when I click into it, I have my one readme file. And if I look at my hidden files, I have my .git folder, which we know not to touch. But it's there, and it contains all of our information about everything we've done in this repository. So now we're going to make some changes locally. This is just the project file.
No, but you're in the browser.
I'm on my file browser.
Oh, you're on Windows.
Yeah. No, this is Linux. OK, so what we're going to do right now, we're going to make changes locally. We have to add them and commit them, remember from our diagram. Then we're going to put those changes on GitLab. And then person B will make a merge request. OK? So let's track a file. So here's my README. It's OK, but I really want to start a new file. And I'm going to type, hi, I love to learn, not with typos, Git. So here's my awesome text file with some extra documentation about my project. I'm going to save it, hi.txt, on my desktop, in my project folder. So I'm going to save it in the same place. So now when I go back here, I have 2. So I wonder what Git's going to tell me now that I have this random file in the repository. So when I go back to my terminal, I have to type cd again. And I'm going to type Utah project, because that is the name of my my project folder. So all we've done right now is I've made a text file, and I have navigated on the command line to the project. So, yes?
Sorry, I have to back up a minute because I entered my username wrong. Now
You just rerun the command and just do it correct.
I did, but it's telling me access denied.
Ruh-roh.
Just replace that.
Access denied. Yeah, so just
Fatal.
Like it saved her login information.
yeah, that's not right. Can you just close the command line and open it back
Yeah,
up?
this is the second one I've opened.
Ruh-roh.
So.
Okay, CD downloads. There's desktop. Desktop, sorry. You hit LS. Can you hit enter? Oh, dir. Sorry, it's Windows. Can you type dir? It's a different command on Windows.
Okay.
Okay. There's a lot of stuff on your desktop. But is this... Where is our file?
Sorry.
No. Okay.
Really insecure about my
It's like, and I've like tried to get it
Okay.
down to
So can you try the git clone?
Yeah.
Git clone and then paste the link. This is a Google thing. I don't know how to do this on Windows. Can you open the Git terminal? I noticed, can you type CMD? CMD. Open the Git terminal. Maybe this will be more forgiving, and just go to the desktop. CD desktop. You're gonna get really good at the command line after this.
I know, right? Well, at least the CD desktop thing.
Just try git clone and the link
Okay.
again. Space. Yeah. Enter. Come on. I'm sorry.
No.
You're gonna have to Google this. I have no idea how to do this on Windows. I'm really sorry.
It's okay.
Just say git authentication fails over and over. It looks like it's
Yeah.
We will figure this out.
Okay. Sorry, thanks. Okay. So has everybody made a new file in their Git repository?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great.
With help from a friend.
That's why I put you in groups.
We're there.
Okay. So a really good thing to figure out what's going on in your Git project is this command called git status. So it's literally what's the status of my project. So git status. Here I am. I'm on branch master. It's up to date. It's fine. But you have this file that you haven't tracked. It's red for not tracked. So when everyone types git status, you should see this. Is everybody, if you don't see it, then change directory into the project.
Hold on, we'll get you there. I gotta get myself there first.
Space, and then name of the, yeah. See, CD, Utah. Mine is called Utah Project.
Oh, okay, there we go. And then you type in the.
And then type git status, and you'll see here.
Oh,
So the workflow for doing this locally,
But did you save a new one?
I was trying to.
And text edit?
okay,
No? There is no new. Open folder.
so I'll let people,
No. Okay, we're gonna go to text edit. Text edit. Create a new file. New. No, that's not text edit. Yeah, no, it says no. We'll kill that. We want text edit. Go to launchpad.
okay. So the workflow for, so in GitLab.com, when we changed a file,
Launcher.
we skipped the staging area because we just went straight to a commit. When you're on your computer, you can't do that. So you'll notice that Git's really useful, and it says, hey, you need to use this to track your file. So the workflow, no matter what type of file it is, no matter what project you're working on, the workflow on your local computer is always going to be git add, then git commit. So you can choose to add all of the files in your repository with git add period. But as we discussed, we like to have control over what is committed, what becomes the new version of a file. So we're gonna type git add hi.txt, which tells Git, hey, this is a file. I want you to pay attention to it. That's it. You're just telling Git, track all the changes I've made to this file. So when I hit enter, nothing should happen.
Does it matter if it's a TXT or RTF?
For now, no. But in the future, RTF is tricky. But it should be fine.
Save it as a TXT.
You can probably just change the file extension if you back-click in that thing. Okay, so has everyone added this? Just git add. So,
Fatal path specific did not match any files.
so git. Can you type? Are you on Mac? Sorry. Can you type ls in the terminal? ls enter. Oh, you didn't escape the space. This is why I said don't put spaces. You have to escape the space. All right, this is a good teaching moment. Okay. So, I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on blast. So, he couldn't add the file because his file name, I'll just do it here. He tried to do git add file with a space .rtf. Let me, so in the file name, there is a space. In the terminal, this will cause catastrophic failure. So if you have a space in your file name, you have to escape it with a backslash, and then you can continue typing it.
So it's a backslash and then a space. And then
Yeah. Because what you're basically saying with the backslash is, hey, ignore this one thing that comes right after me. So in this case, it's a space. Yeah, but you really just avoid them. Just be gentle on yourself.
An underscore is not a special script?
No, an underscore is fine. Okay, so now when we say git status, you can see we're now in the green. So all of our changes are being looked at by Git. And we could say, hey, you could commit this file if you wanted. And when we commit it, we're telling Git this is the new version of the file. So go ahead and just type git status. You should all see green. Give me visual cues if you see green. Okay, good. No?
Other than invisible file.
Oh, but what's DS still?
Oh, ignore that. It's a Mac thing.
I've got art history, but yeah, same thing.
Yes, I see.
R opened up the first time rather than.
Oh, okay. That happens to me all the time as well. Okay.
Yeah, I got it green. Thank you.
So now, let's track a file. So, great. Let's add another file. Let's add another line to our text file. So hi, I love learning Git. What did I say? The hi.txt. I am still learning Git. So I've just added a second line to the text file. And when I go back and type git status, you can see I can commit the first line, but I can't commit the second line because it's not in the staging area. So this gets kind of what we were talking about earlier. So
This will type in git status again.
yes, git status. Okay, so we added the first thing. So since we have added the first line of our text file, we could successfully commit that. We cannot commit this latest change because we have not added it. So the first line of our text file is good to go. The second line is not. Does this make sense? Yeah. Okay. But we can just add it, git add, hi.txt. And when I type git status again, everything is in the green. Because for our sake, we're just going to make one commit with all this. Okay. Because remember, our two workflows are add, then commit. So is everyone with me so far? Everyone's in the green? Okay, great. So in GitLab.com, there was a little box where we added our commit message. On the command line, we have to put it into quotes. So we type git commit. I'm going to scroll down. Git commit. Hi.txt. Oh, wait. Sorry. Nope, I messed up. Git commit -m. Because that's for message. So we're telling Git we're giving you our commit message. And in quotes, I'm going to say created hi.txt and added a line. So now Git has told me exactly what I have done. I've changed one file. I have added 2 lines to that file. And I have created the file called hi.txt. So right after you commit, you should see this. Does everybody see this after they've committed? Okay, I'll walk around. Did you guys see it?
It doesn't like
So
the
that
command.
just added a commit message for what we had done?
Yes.
previously? Okay, cool.
Git commit -m, right?
Yep. Quotes. Add a message.
I didn't add
No,
anything else.
well, add hi.txt.
Did that work?
Yep.
Okay.
Good job.
I
No,
maybe
you can
didn't
just type in any message. Like mine was created hi.txt and added a line. It's just a little note to self.
no spaces.
You can add spaces in this because it's in quotes.
Okay.
The terminal is a whole other lesson in and of itself. My
It
bad.
said that, and then I tried it again, then it said that.
Oh, you put a space between the dash and the M.
Okay.
Yep.
I changed it to TXT and then it went back to RTF, so I said screw it. It's tracking that you've got this here. It's deleted out of this folder here now. How do I make it disappear out of this?
You can just say git stash. It basically just goes back to the last commit. So now if you do git status,
It didn't work again.
Okay.
well, you can just delete our history file.
Type in git.
I said,
Fatal.
tell me who you are.
Oh,
Did it forget who I was? I'm so
Maybe.
confused.
okay. Do you mind if I drive?
Go for it.
Git config dash list.
I think so. I mean,
Yes, it doesn't look like Git knows who you are. So you just have to do that really quick. I don't know.
Is that who I was earlier?
Did you open up a different terminal?
No.
So just add this again. I'm sorry, I don't know why that did that. It's a Windows thing, I will say. Okay. You guys good back there? Okay. You good over here? Made a commit message. Okay.
And then just do the git command again.
And you have to do the same for user.name. Okay. Everybody's good here?
We're catching up. We're doing good.
Okay, good.
My browsing history and log out, and then
That's really weird.
passwords, but no.
Okay. Good. Okay. Okay. So we have created it. So now, the same way that we have viewed the history by clicking the commit in GitLab, we can also view the history of what we've done on the terminal by saying git log. Ruh-roh. Okay, no, it should be fine. Okay. I'm going to scroll to the bottom. So here's my first ever commit in my repository, which is when I added a README. Here's Michael's, where he showed that he could change the file. And when I scroll up now, you can see here is my last commit where I have added a line. So git log shows you the whole history of the whole repository. You can do it for specific files. I don't know why you're doing this to me. You can also view the log for a specific file, like hi.txt, which, for instance, only has one commit. If I was to do git log for the README, you would see the 2 commits. So you can see the whole project or just the history for a specific file. Does this make sense? Okay. And when I type git status again, I'm good. Typed clear wrong. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Are you okay?
I mean, that's something called end. I've never-
Yeah.
Terminal crash. Kill it and bring it back up.
Try hitting a Q.
Try hitting Q?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. If that happens at Q, Mac quirks. Okay.
Got me back to like how it says in my user.
So the best thing about the git log are these little hashes. So we saw these on GitLab.com. Remember, they looked much shorter. So in real life, they're super long. But we only really need to care about as long as is unique. So you could just take the first 7 characters of this. You don't have to copy paste the whole thing. And the reason we use these is when we want to time travel. So this repository has 3 snapshots of files. Those snapshots are identified by that really long number. So let's just say this one is like 8, HC, blah, blah, blah. This one is 9A, blah, blah, blah. And this one is G10, blah, blah, blah. So I can use this number to revert all of the changes I've ever made in this repository from the most recent back to the first, using that number. Does that make sense? So basically, this uniquely identifies the version of the files that we committed. So when we want to go back in time, we need this number to do so. And just let me scroll down to the first. And you can just copy and paste this in the terminal. And I can show you, and then everyone can try it on their own. So I copied this. Hit Q. That's a good tip, actually. Thank you. And I can go back. So I can say git checkout the README. So if I only want it to revert the README and not the whole repository, I can do that. And then I give it the hash. Ruh-roh.
You only had part of it.
Yeah, that's okay, because it's unique. What did I do? All right. Okay, this is a really good example of what happens when you mess up, because Git is very unforgiving. So I messed up checking out that file, and now I'm in a detached head state. So this means yes, this is not the best thing. But this happens a lot, so it's good to know. So basically, this means I tried to go back to 1, and now this line is broken, and I have detached from the main line of development on my repository, which is not fun. So how about we all try to check out a file. Did I type the command incorrectly? Ruh-roh. Like, I use this command all the time. This is really sad. No, you are. Okay. Well, that's good. Don't do this. Just
For me, I'm gonna leave my sword in the scabbard.
yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry about that. That should have worked. But this is a good humanizing moment for you that I am not an all-powerful.
I really don't want to type check out in there. It's good to touch it.
Just wait. Just everybody wait. Oh, okay. This is what I did wrong. You're supposed to do git checkout, then the hash, then the file name. I did the file name, then the hash. Okay, so everyone should do this, but substitute your own while I try and fix my detached head state. Ruh-roh.
We all should do the beginning, or does it matter which one we do?
So when you said that when it says head, that's that character, that's the character.
That's the hash.
That's the hash.
So head is its own thing. Head is the previous version. It's the penultimate version. So you could do that, but the hash is the better way to do it.
Okay. So
Yeah, okay. So I'll write it here since I messed it up on the terminal.
So using that correct
Git.
syntax, even though detached head appears to have worked.
Check out hash. So this is that number. And then file name. Okay. That worked.
So do I want to believe that by entering the right one, the head's now fixed?
Well, I'll try it too. Why not?
Seems to. We didn't throw any errors.
Nope.
File is the readme file, or is it
Okay, when all else fails, you just delete and clone it again. So this is another good reason to have it.
Mine does say head detached at.
Yeah.
Copy.
Whatever.
Oh wait, maybe this one.
It's git clone.
Maybe we'll use the oldest one.
What's the command?
You just give it the URL. Git clone, then the URL. Delete the folder, though. Okay, so did everybody go back to a previous version? Did I totally screw everybody up?
you want us to go back to a previous version
Yes.
of the current.
Yes. Go back to a previous version, then go back to the current version.
So I'm going to check out. I'm going to check out a previous version.
the file name?
Yes.
in quotes?
No.
Do we want to change anything on the previous version, or just check it out?
Mine says pass.
Well, you check it out, open it, so you can verify that you've changed it, and then go back to the most recent version.
I'm super confused. How would you open it?
You just open a text file. Like you double click the text file, look at what's changed.
But there's only one in the text file.
Yeah, so you have the commits, the README commits, and you have the commits from the text file. Does that make sense? Okay. Can I see your Git log?
Yeah.
Oh wait, this is it. You're good.
Okay.
Okay, so you have 3 commits. Or
I
you have
tried to
4
open
commits.
this on-
3 of them are for the README.
Yeah.
So you could try and check out the README.
Okay, that might be better.
And that might be the same for y'all.
Yeah, I have Git, so I'm just kind of following.
Okay.
I think I might have saved the newer I think I might have overwritten the newer
Nope.
version.
So when you go back to a previous thing, your current changes will be gone. You haven't overwritten anything because you can go back to the previous version. So you should see that your file has changed. It should be missing a line. And then when we go back to the most current version, you will see that everything has been rightfully restored. Okay?
This is what mine says.
So the MD isn't capitalized.
Okay.
So I thought I committed the high.text.
Yep, it's
But-
here.
But did I commit it up to the server? when
Nope,
I
we're
did
not
it?
doing that yet.
Okay, so that's why I don't see it.
Yep.
Okay.
Doing everything locally, and then when we're done, we'll push. Okay. Yes. Do you need-
So, no, it worked out great.
Okay, cool.
I had added a second line file.
Yep. So.
Recent, and now it's gone.
Yep. Exactly. Perfect. Okay, you're good.
We don't have to push it.
Nope, don't push.
So then where do we get the hash for,
If you git log,
oh,
you see the hash files.
okay.
Okay. You guys in the back, doing okay? Is it everything? At least I know you can't do anything, but does it understand? Do you get the gist? Yeah. Okay. Is it okay? Are you okay?
Yeah, we're doing good.
Promise?
He's helping
Okay.
us, yeah.
Okay, good. This is why I put you in pairs. Yes.
Okay, so I just did the git log, but now
Yep. So
I'm
here are the hashes. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So it goes from most recent to last recent,
Okay.
or least recent.
Okay. And then now how do I?
Okay. So we're gonna copy the number. Yep. So start at the C. Just Control C. I don't know if it highlights on your
Yeah.
terminal.
I don't know if
Sorry.
it, like,
No, you need to start at the beginning or to copy the whole thing. Yep. Control C. So you copied it, hopefully. Hit Q.
Okay.
Okay, so now you do git checkout, then you paste that hash in. Oops, the right click.
Yeah. Why does it do?
Oops. So since it's right there, you can probably just type it in. I don't know why just type CB, just type the first 7. Are you okay?
How did you copy in the PC?
Sorry?
How did you copy in the command?
Right click.
But you have to select the number. It won't
It,
just.
yeah,
It doesn't
mine
do that
won't-
on Windows?
It just
Oh,
wouldn't
mine
let
does
me
it. You
select.
just click and drag, and then you just right click, and then when you go down, you right click where you want to paste it, and then it will just paste it there.
Okay.
You
Windows
don't have to
hacks.
right click and then hit copy. It will just automatically do it.
Perfect.
So now,
Did you?
Yeah, I think I good. What's the purpose of the? If you put in the file, it only then
Affects that
updates
file. Yep. If you want to revert all the changes, you just go back to the first one. Yeah. Okay. No.
wait,
Okay.
What did I do?
You didn't add a file name. So hopefully when you add you should be okay. Hit git status. Type git status. Hit the dash, fuck. Okay. Google.
I started using Linux and I haven't really used Git that much. I mainly just use it if somebody like writes a script that like I want to use on my computer.
Just follow along with these. It's
My little Q thing, that's from 20 years ago when I was like,
Yeah.
Unix course,
fuck. That's not helpful.
Yeah, that helps quite. Sometimes I just close the terminal.
I was just wondering, if there was a
All right.
one of Git back.
Stack Overflow will help you.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I think it also depends on what like distribution of Linux.
Okay. So has everyone successfully rewritten history? Have you gone back to your first commit? And then have you gone back to the start?
So right now I've gotten to where I've gone back to an older version.
Mm-hmm.
That older version's there. Now, if I don't want to, is that what you're saying, to ignore that change or just?
If you want to go back to the first one?
Want to go back to the first one?
Yeah, hold on. Okay. Just give me 1 sec to catch up with you guys.
I just want to make sure I wasn't falling behind.
Nope, you're not. Okay. Git add.
Oh, I didn't add my text file back. Do you need to add it back?
Don't do anything. I just deleted my repository, so I have to fix it.
I had to clone it, so do I have to go back to
Okay,
the
yes,
text
then
file
you
back?
do have to do this. Okay.
Where's my
And
text file?
hi.txt.
One moment.
Clear. Git log.
It's good practice. That's what
Okay.
I'm getting the high text now. I'm getting the error that it's not in the Git files, but in the log it says created a file.
Huh.
I dot.
Is it still in your project folder?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, just FYI, text editor doesn't let you have a .txt extension. Just so you
Text
know.
edit? That's weird.
You can
Mac's
do
weird.
RTF.
Okay. So here I went back to the first version of my README file. So now I want to go back to the most current one, which is this. So I'm just going back. I'm copying this commit. I'm doing the same thing. Git checkout, copying the commit. So now when I go back to my README file, it has reloaded, and it is back to the most current version. So you can travel in time using the commit hashes. So this is useful if you have a project, you cloned it and you're working on it, and you made some changes that you don't like and you want to go back to the first person's thing. You can rewrite history like this. Does that make sense?
Remind me to git commit. And then git commit and then
Dash M,
there's an argument, dash M.
dash M, and then in quotes you give the commit message. Okay. Okay, so at the moment we have changes that are only recorded locally, and we want to put these on GitLab for the world to see. So the way that we do that is with something called push. So now we're adding a third thing to our workflow. Git push. So git push is basically saying take all of the changes that I've made locally, push them to a centrally hosted place like GitHub or GitLab. So all of these local commands work no matter what platform you're using. These are just general Git things you can use with anything. Git push. All right, so for instance, if I type git status, I'm ahead. I need to push to publish my local commits on the internet. So when I do that,
No argument, just git push.
there are arguments, as a matter of fact. So since we cloned the repository, we have what's called a remote. So we have a local copy of our repository, and we have something that's remote. It's on a remote server. It's not on our thing. So we can see that. So here, you can see that origin is just a nickname for the URL. Origin is just an arbitrary nickname for the URL of our repository on GitLab. Does this make sense? Okay, people look concerned. Everybody okay? Feeling okay? Do you need me to go back over anything? Okay. So now to reflect my changes, I say git push -u. I don't think that matters actually. Origin master. Oh, maybe it does matter. Yes, it matters, lowercase u. Okay. So now you can see it's getting 3 objects. It's writing them up. It's sending them to gitlab.com/Vicky Steeves/Utah project. It's pushing my new commits to the master branch. Now when I go back to my repository on GitLab and I hit refresh, here's my changes that I made locally on my computer. Here's the file I added locally on my computer. On GitLab.
Mine says.
Yeah, so just authenticate.
Did it ask for an authentication username?
It's not going to show up.
You gotta
It's
type it in.
because it's a password. So for security, when you type your password on the terminal, you're not going to see it.
Okay, now I already
fat
like press
fingered.
delete and stuff.
Just hit enter and do it again.
This little shit.
No. It asked for my username, password.
Yep.
I put it in. It said access denied.
Maybe you typed it wrong.
I tried it again. It won't.
So you don't type the @ you just type your username.
Yeah, I tried it.
Well, now it's not even letting me
Yeah, it's
try
not
my
letting me.
password and stuff again. It don't allow me to do it the first time.
No, it's just every time.
Ooh.
My bad.
Lots of things showed up. Denied, access denied.
No, no. Nice.
And it
Do you
won't even
want,
let me
I'll
type
put it in
it.
your helmet. Okay. Oh wait, you had this issue on Windows. How did you fix it?
I had to clear my browsing history and log out of
Oh,
Git.
had to kill it.
Yeah, and then it had me create like a new password.
What? I don't think it should go that far.
It was weird, but
Oh, I can just check and set that up then.
Can you close this terminal?
Yeah.
Type CMD in the command line, or in the search. But instead of going to the thing, go to the Git terminal and navigate to your CD desktop, whatever the project name is. CD. Yeah. Do you know what it's called? Is it uppercase? Okay. So now try the Git push. It either will tell you to tell it who you are, or git push, -u, lowercase u, origin, space, master. Damn it. So what, you had to log out on GitLab? Where'd you log out?
well, I deleted all my like browsing cache everything, and then so that logged me out. And then when I logged back, then I tried the command again, and
That's so weird.
yeah.
Windows is so weird. All right, clear your browsing cache. Let's see if that works.
So, wait, where is that? Okay, wait, I've done this.
Let me just scroll over. Where's the cache? Advanced?
So did you log back in
We
to
killed the command line.
Okay,
We
clear.
didn't kill the browser. The
This
browser.
one?
Yeah, just clear the cache though. So get rid of, don't unclick that.
So if I want to make another
Yeah,
change,
and then instead of all time, just do like, 'cause that will take a long time, just do the last hour.
and then I
Cookies too?
Yeah,
commit it and then push it. Commit it. So you always need to do that commit
that's so weird.
and then
And then can you just do the same thing where you, sorry. CMD.
you could also totally do it like
And go to the Git again?
if you wanted, or you could do it like on your computer. Okay. So it kind of depends on your work environment, if maybe you're not connected to internet, or maybe you have like a large
Origin.
set of files that you download.
Should ask you to authenticate again. All right, I'm gonna send her over here. I'll give you back your pretzels. All right.
I'm getting this thing where,
No. You have the same thing happening.
yeah. So I put in this,
Yeah.
and then,
Your password?
well, so I can't actually type anything here.
Yeah. So it's not going to show up because for security reasons, it's not going to just have your password out on the terminal. So you're still typing, but nothing will appear.
So I tried hitting, I've copied it. I tried hitting Command V to paste it, and it fails.
I think you have to do Command Shift V to copy on the command line.
Command,
On my terminal, you have to do Command Shift V to copy on the command line.
Command Shift V. I tried Command Shift, didn't work, so.
Command Shift V, or whatever. Okay. I'm here. Everyone's having the same authentication error.
So I
I had to reset
I went in
That seems-
with GitLab, and mine's
yeah.
working fine. They went in with the GitHub credentials, and theirs is not working.
Huh. That shouldn't matter because mine's not. I always sign in with my GitHub account. Right,
So I had a GitHub account, and it pulled over the username, but then it made me assign a password at some point early in the game here. So then I had a password, so now I have a password for my.
Okay, so everyone go to GitLab and set a password because that seems to work. So GitLab.com, go to your settings, set a password, use that password on the command line. Okay. You got it? Okay.
I mean, I set a password at the
Where
beginning
is the
of
password reset?
There's no password. I just understood what you did.
Sorry?
I had already set a password,
Okay.
but I just
That's
got
main
it as in
settings.
that I understood everything and it redid it.
Where's the subsettings or something like that? Stuff like that. Where do you set the password, Vicky? I can see change the username, but nowhere where it says delete the password.
Down on the menu.
Further down the side?
Can you just click that?
Yeah, so you go into the settings and then there's a sidebar and it will say password.
Oh, here it
right
is,
there,
password,
password,
here it is,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Oh, it worked!
Okay. Well, this is a good thing to know. Somebody create an issue in my account so I remember this. Can I get a volunteer?
Oh gosh, now I gotta figure out how to create an issue.
So everyone go to my repository,
No, we're all going to create issues.
go to an issue. Someone create an issue that you guys have to put a password. Can one person do this? Hands up.
I'll do it.
Thank you. Everyone else can add to a discussion if you so choose, or add an emoji reaction if you so choose. Okay. So now back here, I say git status. Everything's clean. I'm up to date with what's on GitLab. We're good to go. So after you set a password on GitLab and push, and you do git status, this is what you should see. You're all set. Is this what people see?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I just wanna see about how to create an issue, I haven't done it. I know she's doing it, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure it's done.
It's actually giving me an error message that it's not giving me, maybe I'm not getting the right thing. It doesn't seem.
Okay, so you should be in 28 in my repository called 2018 UUtah.repro.
I need to go up to
Vicky Steeves / 2018 UUtah repro. Then on the sidebar, there's issues. You just click this, then you can add an issue.
It's there.
Okay.
Feature, I think. Does it show up?
Know what?
Is there a way like
I can't see
I
it yet.
can look you up and see your page on it?
Yep, so it's just gitlab.com / Vicky Steeves.
No, I know, but
Oh, okay, I see it. Don't worry. But I'll go.
but I don't.
Wait,
Oh,
how did you find
so as long as you know someone's first name and last name, you can.
No, that's just my username.
Oh, okay. So
But you can also do a global search
so I could look.
just in the search bar.
How do I create an issue straight on you?
I am not open for issues.
Come on.
My issues are not that public. Okay, where's my Utah project?
So you just create the issue on the project, right?
Yes. Okay. Utah project. I have my very first issue. GitLab password if you do GitHub credentials. I added my thumbs up. I'm going to assign it to myself. Oh no, maybe I'll assign it to Michael and Derek. You guys have to deal with this, not me.
Last time I volunteered for something.
And I'll give you a due date of Thursday. Boom. So now when I refresh this, you'll see that there are 2 people assigned to this. And it's due June 14th. And it's not confidential. So you can also make issues confidential if you're nervous about people dogpiling you or it's your first time contributing. You can just go ahead and make it confidential. And if you find people are being jerks in the discussion, you can also lock the issue. So if a million people put the thumbs down, I might lock it so your feelings don't get hurt. But it's really good in cultivating sort of a community around your projects. Okay. So now back to our scenario. What we have done, we've forked a repository. Well, some of you have. Forked a repository. We brought it to our local computer. we changed some stuff. We put our changes back on GitLab. And now I think my changes are pretty rad, and I want to contribute them back to the original source. So does anyone remember what we call that? How to do that? Request, a merge request. Because you can't just go merge my thing. You politely request it. So we can do this. Did I fork anything? Ruh-roh. I was not the forky. Okay. Wait, I did. I forked your projects. See, sometimes you just have to go to your own profile and look at yourself. New project. Okay. Here, I forked it. So you can only do this for a forked project. I'm just going to make a change really quick. Everyone pretend I did this on the downstairs. It did work. Okay, so now I made a change. I changed your README. It's super positive, and I would like you to contribute my positivity back into the project. So the way we do this is this little sidebar called merge requests right here. I'm going to say new merge request. It's going to compare what I've done with the current work on the repository. So here we go. I'm going to compare the branches and continue. I'm going to give it a title. I have added some positivity to your README. I hope you find this well. Be nice. I wanted to add a line to your README. So all you do is you compare, then you submit it. So now, back on the original project. So here's the original project, not in my name. I can go. You have 2 merge requests. Okay, good luck. You have a work in progress. That's very good. You labeled it WIP. And then you also have me, who's just all in. Everyone, look at this. So now there are 2 merge requests. So I would like person B, whoever forked, make a merge request of your pair. Okay? One of you should have forked something. So now make a merge request back that incorporates the changes that we've made locally.
So they did that. That's all the line.
That's fine. Do it now.
Do it again.
Did you make a merge request?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Okay. So then just hold tight. Did everybody do that? Did everybody make a merge request? Oh my God. What? Yes.
I took it back to original. I don't see your merge request at all. I don't see his merge request. Where do I see it?
On the sidebar,
Nope.
there's under issues, there's a thing called merge requests.
I know. It says 0.
Can I see? Are you sure you made a merge request?
Well, we think we did, but maybe we didn't.
Okay.
Watched him. We thought we did.
So that's this thing.
Okay. New merge request.
Yep.
Select the source branch, which is just master.
Right.
So that's your latest commit and his. So you are trying to make a merge request.
But we only have one.
I see the problem. Because you are in the same repository. We have to go to yours that you forked. So which one is that? This one?
Yes.
So now make the merge request from your fork.
Okay.
So you should have 2 different things. 2 different source and targets. All right. Did you guys make a merge request?
Can't do it, but we will do it later.
Okay. You can probably make a merge request to her.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you can't do it on the terminal, but you
Right.
can.
Yeah, that's
and you don't need the terminal to
Okay.
just make a change
Then
and
I will.
make a merge request. Okay. Okay. Did you?
I think I am doing this right.
Okay, you look like you're in the right spot. Okay. And you guys made a merge request. Did you give me a merge request? Word. Thank you. Okay. You submit a merge request to me? Okay, cool. All right, give me a look. Oh, I got like a million emails with merge requests.
It's waiting for me to do something. Oh, waiting for you to do something now. You can't, there's a request. Shut up and refresh. Okay. Oh, select either accept or reject.
Okay. I have 2 merge requests. Add a new file. All right. Let's see. Can I? It's a work in progress, so I can't merge it. That's fine. I'm sorry?
There's a green merge button.
Yeah, click it. Mine does not have this. There are conflicts. No.
Did I mess something up?
No, I think we just edited the same file.
I edited the .txt.
No, no. All right, let me look.
You could merge it, but in theory, if you're actually asking somebody to merge it in, the person who owns it has to accept it.
Right, so you should be doing that.
So if I hit merge, not
Did you mess with the first line? Okay.
Okay, now can you see, what
If I go back into my project,
You guys are good? Okay.
repository.
So if I go on yours now, I can see your
merged, so yeah, there you go.
Okay. Let's see if I can merge this one. Yay, okay. I'm sorry, I'll merge yours after. Okay, so when there are no commits, you just get the little merge button. And now his changes were successfully merged into my repository.
Yeah, you erased one of the lines.
Row. And so here's the new file added to my repository. So now when I go to my terminal, my local terminal, and I type git status, should say I'm behind. Okay. So now in my repository, I have a file, and this file does not exist locally, but I want it to because it was merged in successfully, and I want to keep my stuff up to date. So basically what we've just done is person B has pushed a change into GitLab, which is great, and I've accepted the change and everything works out. And now I need to pull it to my computer. And this is how part of how you can collaborate. Does this make sense? So we're basically, and if likewise, if I change something, he can pull it. So we use push and pull to keep up to date with a repository that exists both on our computer and on GitLab or GitHub. If it does not exist on our computer, we cannot use pull and push. We need to first clone it. Does this make sense? So you push and pull only when it exists both locally and on whatever hosting site you're using.
So it's a command git pull.
It's literally git pull. So I will show you. Git pull. So look at this. It's fast forwarded. So again, time traveling. So this line has changed. This file has changed. It has 3 lines added, whereas my README had 3 lines but 1 deleted. So Git is nice in that it color codes things for us. So now when I go back, I have this file here. Hello world, he's learning Git. Yay! And so now I have synced my local repository to my repository on GitLab. Does this make sense?
What does fetch do?
Similar things. Fetch is usually safer.
It was one of the commands that it was offering when
Yeah.
I asked about the stat or the remote.
Yeah.
So I pushed it up to his
Mm-hmm.
project,
Yeah.
but it looks like I'm still on my local machine. I'm behind one file that he's added, and I hit the pull, but I think it's pulling from my project is not here. So I have a repository.
Uh-huh.
In
So the way you can check that in the
so right
terminal.
here, so this project now is not matched up with his on GitLab. My GitLab clone project is not matching his, even though they should be, or I want them to be.
You want from the global to go back to your one.
So in the terminal, if you say git remote -v, it'll tell you which one you're synced with. Actually, this is a good lesson. I'll do this with everybody. Okay. So we had a really good question. Yeah? -v. It shows you all the remotes. Did you have a question?
How we learned how to do it, but
So for person B that did the fork and merge it, how do I get her?
Yes. Okay, everyone's asking this question. This is a good question. So, in addition to having perhaps one GitLab repository you collaborate on, the person who forked it, so I'm just going to call this GitLab GL fork and GitLab original. So the question is, how do you sync these? How do you sync a fork? Is that the question from multiple people? So then you have person B, person A. So person B working here, person A working here. These are collaborating with forks and merge requests, but he wants to make sure he doesn't fall behind. So before I showed you git remote v. So this is the name of this link. Origin is basically, you can think of it like a variable. Origin is assigned to this link. You can have multiple of these. You can have as many as you want. So for instance, I could say git remote add upstream and give it a link, which basically says GitLab origin now equals upstream. So this is origin. We're person B right now. We've made a fork. Our fork is our origin because it is our repository. Upstream is the original. Well, I gotta get a link. What did I fork? I forked yours.
So my error here was I forked my repository instead of forking.
You can't. You shouldn't be able to do that.
Okay. Well, then I did. No.
Unless you have multiple.
Yes, cloning is different.
I cloned my repository on my machine.
Yeah. And in fact, I linked how to do this because I wasn't sure if we'd have time. You guys have been really quick with this, actually, so it's good. But it's good. We have more time for more exercises. So this is it. So git remote add upstream. You give it the link to the upstream repository. So for instance, where's my GitLab? Here's new project, which is what I forked from you. So just let me put it down. Did you change new project at all?
just to accept the merge.
All right, perfect. So here's new project. Git status. Whoop. I just cloned my fork. Right now I'm just getting set up to show you this, so you should all be here already. All right, here I go. So if I want to stay synced with her repository, which is the one I forked, I say git remote add upstream, and then I give it a link. I'm just going to find the link here. So nothing should have happened. But when I go back to git remote v, you've noticed now I have origin, but also upstream. So when I pull, I can now designate git pull upstream master. And you can see I have now gotten all the files from her repository onto my fork. Does that make sense? So now, if I go to git status though, on my fork, I'm ahead of this because I've basically done this. I have a lot of arrows. I'm going to get rid of some of these. Okay. I have basically pulled from the original repository locally, but I need to put those local changes back on GitLab. So then I just say git push. And now you can see it went to my GitLab. So it pushed to my fork. So now when I refresh this page, I see her, this is still her project, I go back one. When I refresh, I now have her commit history, and I have the new files, and now my fork is synced up with the original. Does this make sense? We can try it. We have extra time, because you guys were all really fast with Git, which is great. So person B forked person A, right? Mm-hmm. So person B, I want you to add person A's repository as upstream.
So it's git upstream.
Nope, it's git remote, add upstream. Then you pass it the link to the original repository. So you can do this with mine if you Vicky Steeves / Utah project.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I'm getting hold on. See if I still get that issue. This
You have to pull.
Yeah. I messed up the color scheme on my.
You want? No, it's fine.
Pull is not possible. This is it.
Because you have unmerged files. Oh, because we have a merge issue.
Yeah.
This was.
All right.
Pause.
We edited the same file at the same time, and our edits conflict with each other. So I have to fix it. Okay, so git remote add, and then give it the link. Meanwhile, person A, make a change in the repository. So person B has something to fetch, to get, to pull.
What link did you use?
So when you go to her repository, actually your link is the same as mine. It's the link to her repository, not mine.
So it's the ML.
Mm-hmm.
So it's GetLab.com and then the ML.
Yeah, so it's the same. So when we cloned our repository, remember we copied a link? So if you go to her repository, you just go to personal projects, click new project. You can just get that link from the same center thing that you got yours. Yeah, it's that. Did you guys like wicked ahead of the game?
Yeah, he like follows along as you do it, so that.
But then she didn't make changes.
So make a change so he can pull.
Yeah.
Okay.
And make a change locally, add, commit, push, pull. Okay, good.
And then can I leave and have a snack?
Sure.
I'm very mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
Like, it's snack time.
Okay, sure. I know, we really motored through this. You guys were really on it.
On yours?
No, on yours. Because he needs to pull from the original repository. Okay.
And then I do the git pull upstream.
Yep. So once he makes a change, you pull upstream. Okay.
Did you commit something?
Do you have to do the commit after you pull it upstream? Because mine says please commit your changes or stash them before you
Just say git stash.
get stash.
Yeah, git space stash. Like you have a stash. I guess it's not the. Yeah. I'm glad this is all on tape. All right, so person A should be add, commit, push, so that person B can pull your change. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm yelling right next to you. I'm sorry. I'm naturally loud. Okay. Do you do something for me? Should I go look?
I didn't do. I didn't change anything, but I just pulled.
Well, okay, cool. You should. Oh yeah, because I got it from you. Actually. Okay. Cool. Okay.
Now it's just a matter of,
Okay. Okay. Were you guys able to successfully do that? Could you pull? You got her new change? Did you make a change?
Just the one that you had made when I merged your stuff. She merged
Okay. Oh, right. Okay.
Update branch.
I'm really confused.
What are you confused about?
So I didn't do git add,
Okay.
and my partner's helping me.
Yeah, good job. Person A, you need to add, commit, push. So you just go up there with an H.
I think I might have already done that.
We did everything on the web, so we didn't.
Well, this is useful for things that you can't do on the web, like making a website. So for instance, like everyone always says, can't I just use like Git in browser? But this isn't really useful for a lot of things that require you to do any computation. So for instance, I can show you, this is how I build our book for the class. So when I go into my R project, and I go to Git, you can see, actually I have some R code here to make a table, and I need to run this. I can't run this on GitLab.com. I have to run it where R is on my computer. So there are lots of things that you can't do on GitLab or GitHub that you can only do locally. So I started you all off on GitLab on the hosting platform, because the idea is the way most of you probably would start with Git is you would see something you like on the internet and you want to interact with it in some way. So this is why I started with forking and then moved to the local stuff. So yeah, if you also just totally want to work locally, to create a Git repository is just Git init, like init. So you can just go to any folder on your desktop and make it a Git repository if you want. But it's useful, I think, to start from a place where you see something, you want to contribute, you want to invite contribution, you see some cool neuroscience Jupyter notebooks you want to use, you can just fork it, clone it on your thing, use Jupyter Notebook, Hangout, etc. Does that make sense? Okay, good. I need visual cues, so you have to tell me. I can give you a little preview of what we're going to do when we hit R. So in RStudio, there's actually a little window for Git. So in the R session, we're going to look very briefly about how to interact with Git in RStudio. You can see I've modified this file. And I can even look at the diff. So it's a nice visual way to explore all my diffs too. This is all the stuff I haven't committed. So RStudio actually does a good job as well. Which just reminds me, I didn't show you how to diff a file. All right. If you want to see the difference in a file, the way we could see it with the blame button on GitLab, it's just git diff. And you give it a file name. What's a file? All right. Git diff. Why are you not showing me this?
Fresh clone is the only difference.
Yeah, maybe that. Huh?
Mine says ambiguous argument.
Ruh-roh.
What?
Did I mess up the command again?
It says use -- to separate paths from revisions.
Okay. Git diff, you actually need the same character of the hash. You need the hash for everything. All right, so if I go to my first commit, we have lots of commits in this repository. If I grab this, which is the first readme, if I say git diff, and then I pass it that, it shows me all of the differences between all of the files since this commit. So you can see, oh, I managed to change the file. I'm with my friend. But then he deleted that line for some reason. Ouch. Rude. Haha. And then there's my late dude in the back who also forked this project, who added his name. And then it shows, and we can scroll down. Here's my hi.txt file. So git diff, and then you pass it a hash. Shows you the difference, shows you on the command line the same thing that on GitLab that blame button shows you. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah.
How did you know on that hash where to stop in that big long number?
So you need at least a minimum of 7 characters, but it needs to be unique. So if you have like a commit history of 3,000, chances are you're going to need the whole thing because the whole thing is the only thing that will be unique. So at a minimum 7, at a maximum enough to be unique. Does that make sense? Okay. Does anyone else have questions so far? Congrats, you just collaborated with somebody. I edited it with because Git is really scary. You guys did a really, like, unanimously, this was a very painless Git class, which it might not have seemed that way to many of you, but this is, I think, the fastest I've ever gone through this material. Usually I don't even get to syncing forks, so this was really excellent. I could show you some bonus stuff. We could call it an afternoon. You could ask me questions on your own. What's the temp? Show bonus stuff? That's one thing.
I'm gonna go.
That's fine.
I'm in overload. I gotta be done.
Yeah.
No, I'm like, I deserve a snack. This was a lot of good fun.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
So does anyone think that the workflow here is something you could use in your day-to-day research life or regular life? Yeah. Yeah, in fact, yeah. So I guess one thing that I can show briefly since we have the time, every repository comes with a wiki. So you can write your documentation for your project right within the repository, so you have everything in one place. There's also this thing called CI. CI is continuous integration. It's extremely important for reproducibility. And in fact, I wrote a thing about how good it is for reproducibility, and I will show you why. So does anyone know what computational reproducibility is? I kind of explained it earlier in the class. Basically, if I give you some code and data, it should be able to run, which never happens in real life if you've ever tried to do that. So continuous integration, particularly on GitLab, is miles ahead of the others, and it is exceptionally good for reproducibility because it lets you build things the same exact way every time using the same computational environment no matter where you are. So for instance, here is the script that takes my R project and makes this website from it. Yay, my website, which is for some reason a bad contrast, but you get the point. You all have it on your local computers. So what this is doing, this is a Docker image. It could be a Singularity image. It could be one that I've made, one that my friend has made, or it could not exist at all. But the good thing about having something like a container is that you have the consistent environment. And I have never touched this on my local computer. This is something that only is being used on GitLab. So you can see the only thing that I've done, this just comes from GitLab. I didn't really touch this. What I changed was I added this R command. R script, book down, render my book. That's all I did. And so every time that I push a commit to my GitLab repository, this executes and rebuilds the environment, runs the code, and gives me the output. So there are folks who use this continuous integration more broadly every time that they change something in their analysis because they want to have a reproducible build. Does that make sense? So basically, and I can show you an example that has an artifact. So this is a thing. We don't have any geologists, geoscientists in the room, right? All right, well, I did this for a geoscience conference, which is why I mentioned that. This one is a little more complicated because I did some geospatial analysis as well as build my website, which is the same thing. So you can see I have my book down, which renders the materials for the class. But I also decided to write a paper about how great everything is in geospatial analysis. So I've made a directory that does the analysis based on this R script and gives me an output that I can download. And I don't have to mess around with, do I have the right version of R on this computer? I can just push a commit, and it makes a build for me that's completely reproducible. And what's more, I can download stuff from that. So here are the artifacts from the build. Here's materials, here's the article, here are the demo files, here's all my LaTeX, here's the tech file, here's the article. I've done this for things like other analysis, just happens to be my stuff here that's public is, I guess, more teaching materials based. But folks use continuous integration to kind of have reproducible builds in the cloud. And every time you change something and you push it, it reruns with the same environment, so you don't have to worry about it. Does that make sense? Is that too much overload? I can go back to the glitter if it is not.
When you say it runs with the same environment, are you saying it's running with your environment, or it's running with the environment that was built in that R file? Or in that
I could tell it to run with the environment in my R file. I could give it a Docker image that I made or somebody else made. I could give it a Singularity container that I made or somebody else made.
What do you mean by that?
Docker and Singularity are container software. So if you noticed in my, sorry, I'm going back to this thing. If you noticed in the continuous integration file, I use this thing called Rocker, which is Docker for R. So this is something that exists on Docker Hub. I just found it because I was like, what's a good Docker image for R? And I found Rocker, and I like this version of it. So all this does is it says, I want to build all of this inside this environment. But I don't have to use somebody else's. I could build my own.
Okay, so you're using version 3.43 of R.
Yes.
Is what you're basically saying.
Yes, which corresponds to the stuff in Rocker. Okay. So when somebody forks this, they're also getting this. So this goes with them. So they have reproducible builds on their forks.
I'm just not familiar with R,
Oh, yeah.
or the Docker.
Oh, yeah. So it's a little bit like next level. And we're not going to talk about Docker containers in this like immersive workshop. But just they're good for consistent environments. And you can use them seamlessly with GitLab to let you and other people build stuff with the same environment, which is useful for reproducibility. Yeah?
One thing I struggle with kind of making the analysis reproducible is say in my code, and I haven't used R, I've used Stata, but I'll
Sure.
a couple of different points here. I'll pull in CSV files, convert them to Stata files, clean them a little bit, and then merge them in. And depending on, I can write the code in there of change directory, but if all these are local files, then if those remote files that I'm pulling in ever change, or the name changes, the whole thing goes to hell. And
Right.
it seems like the only way to make it consistent is to have all the files in one location, to stay within that working folder, and then I don't know how to do with the issue of like file names changing. Can this address that?
Git can address the issues of file naming changes. This, you can also have, you can have an environment, and you can say instead of this R script, whatever Stata thing it is to merge in your files, the CSV to Stata. You can have multiple scripts too. You notice these are 2 in a row. So you could build in a lot of that to something like this. So every time you push a new file, you can execute and get an artifact back that is the clean, nicely merged file. You just have to know the script to do that, or I don't know how you do it in Stata, but I know you write, there's Stata code, isn't there?
What's that?
You use Stata code to do that? Yeah, so there must be something with Stata. I haven't looked. But you could find something that has a good Stata environment for you to use. You can mess around with it. Half of my builds fail. In fact, if we look at this, my jobs, like a bunch of them have failed because I just try random stuff until it works. But it's really nice because other people can even run my environment locally on their own computer if they clone my repository, if they fork it and clone it. So you can reproducibly build stuff in GitLab's in the cloud, in GitLab's computational infrastructure, but also on your own. So that was probably like way cognitive overload, so I'll go back to this just every time. But it is like the next step. So right now we did the very basics of learning what version control is, how to use it with Git, how to collaborate on GitLab, and merge our changes and work collaboratively. So if you want to go back to the things that we're doing, there's a few really good resources. So try Git is my favorite. It actually lets you enter commands, like fake commands in the browser. Oh no. Ruh-roh. Where'd it go? Here we go. So for instance, if you want to learn more about branching, here's my intro level. It gives you some stuff, and it visualizes it for you. So you can actually go through and get a better in-depth look. GitLab. Try Git. There's also Think Like a Git, which is just kind of a funny joke. But also it's for someone who, like for us, who's used Git but just needs the refreshers. That's a really good one. For GetLab, one thing we didn't go over is like you can build websites with this. So I put in a link if anyone wants to do that. It's a really good first project to kind of get comfortable.
Is that with Jekyll and Ruby, or?
You can. I build mine with Nicola, which is another static site generator. Okay. Yeah. Intro to continuous integration. So all that stuff I was just talking about, you can actually get a more coherent view of it. And then in GitHub, I also put in their guides, their tutorials, everything you've learned today, git add, git commit, even the issues, pull requests, all of these things work the same way on GitLab as I do on Git. So all the things you learned here, if you prefer to use GitHub, you can transfer those skills seamlessly. So with that, you guys were really fast, and that was amazing. I'll stick around for questions. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow for Open Refine and R&R Studio. Thank you very much. Aw.